Okay, I think I'm ready.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Hello, welcome back.
Welcome to Know Our Show.
Sorry, that was a rocky start.
Yeah. I'm Rachel.
I'm Michelle. Sorry about that. We're having some weather problems, so if the lights go out, sorry in advance. We're just gonna power through it. The podcast doesn't matter. They can't see us. The video, we're just gonna, cut the losses.
Yeah.
Go on. So I think we kind of wanted to start this one off a little different. We're kind of going, since last week, we kind of went over our, read numbers for the year, reading streak. Today we're going to go over our top 5 reads of the year.
So far.
Yes. Sorry, should have led with that. Because it's ever changing, ever flowing.
Always.
Okay. So, do you want to go first with your number 5?
Do we want to go back and forth?
Yeah, we can do that. Okay. Start with the bottom and then work our way to number 1.
Okay, so my number 5 is the Madison Kate series, which I reread it, so
right.
I didn't know if I would necessarily want it to count, but they're 5 stars. It's a 5-star read.
No,
So
I gotcha.
that's my number 5. We talked about it for 4 hours. So
And then probably a couple after that.
yeah.
Totally fine. Okay, so my 5th book, because we're counting down, is Tethered to the World. It's a fantasy. It's why I choose. That's going to be a common theme with mine. Reverse harem if you want to go that route or whatever. And then it's kind of about shapeshifters. So if you're not into, the shape-shifting world, I would not give it a read. I know some people are very against it, and
Also, if you don't like why choose.
Yeah, I mean that too.
Yeah.
That is very true, but that's about actually all of them. It's probably a majority of the ones I picked. It just leads for a better read.
Yeah. So my 4th is actually the 3rd in a trilogy. It's the Angel of Indian Lake. It's part of the Indian Lake trilogy, and they're horror slasher books.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not going to give too much away because this is the 3rd one.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I gotcha. All right, cool. Sounds interesting. My 4th one is actually a manga. It's the only manga on the list. So, The Two Perfect Saint. Okay, it's a really long title. Forgive me. The Two Perfect Saint, tossed aside by her fiance and sold to another kingdom. That's the full title. And some of the manga that are coming out do have that long extended title, and I'm just just shorten it. It's okay. That's not a why choose, but it's a fantasy. It's kind of in the name. Yeah. the saint gets sold off to another kingdom, and then of course the prince that sold her is like, oh well, fuck, she knew how to do everything, and they're like, come back, and she's like, fuck you. Anyway, sorry. Go on.
Okay. My 3rd is actually one that we did for the podcast.
Okay.
It's Lifelike by Jay Kristoff, which is sci-fi, robots. We did it on the podcast.
Yes.
Listen to the episode.
Yes, listen to the episode. It was actually, I really, really liked that. It was a really good one.
Yeah.
And you got the 2nd book, didn't you?
I have all 3 of them.
Oh,
now. Because I found them all that day that we went.
I just thought you just got the 2nd one. That's hilarious. Okay, cool. From the podcast, have you gotten a lot of trilogy or series that you were like, I need the rest of this?
So Lifelike, Gideon, I'm going to continue on.
Oh
with.
Yes, I really like that one.
As far as our podcast,
I was just curious because I got the Silo.
Oh yeah, Silo,
the Wool series, because I really enjoyed the first book, even though I totally fumbled the ending. And it actually didn't even make my list. Did that tell you anything? I really liked it, but I was just curious. Okay,
Lord of the Rings, I'm going to continue on, obviously.
Obviously. Totally understandable. My 3rd was actually a podcast book, which is kind of funny how we did that. Mine was actually Cloud in the Cornfield. Not because it was, the best book I've ever read. It was more of the connection to me and my husband, since he read it. That's, the first book in,
Years?
Yeah, I mean, literally year. I don't think we ever read the same book, to be honest with you. We have very different tastes. Because he likes Stephen King, and I can't stand reading Stephen King just because of all the details he puts into books.
Yeah.
And then he likes a lot of, I don't even know his name. He likes more of the fantasy, really hard, high fantasy books. Like R.A. Salvatore?
R.A. Salvatore.
Salvatore, yeah. He likes a lot of his books, and I just haven't gotten into them. I probably would if I gave it a chance, but of course, when someone's like, here, read this. I'm like, no.
1,000-page tomes.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you want to talk about long book series. I think he, 40-some books in one series, and I'm like, I don't know if I can. I'm not that committed.
No.
Sorry. Sorry. So, but yeah, I really liked The Clown in Cornfield just because, me and you read it for the podcast. I know you, my husband read it, your husband read it, and we watched the movie, so I just had more of an emotional connection to that book. Which is what books are about. Yes. Sorry. So, what was your second?
My second is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang.
Oh, yes. Okay. It's
Um,
on my to-be list.
it's really good.
Okay.
It's fantasy. There's a little bit of a magical school. There's training. There's obviously war. But
every yeah.
but it's amazing as far as family.
Is it just a one book?
There's 3 books.
3 books. That seems to be I don't know. Just seems to be the back number. Everyone's like, trilogy, there you go.
Yep.
Which I'm totally down for. But at the same time, I don't have that much time. Sorry. Okay, so my second is probably the Broken Bond series. Just because I'm rereading it this year. I'm gonna finish the damn series because I'm not...
I'm still on book 2.
I'm halfway, probably 3/4 of the way through book 4, but it's kind of the backup book when I'm like, I don't want to read any more podcast books at the moment. Which is totally fine. I know you read a couple here and there.
I have anywhere from 2 to 10 going on.
I don't know if I have the brain capacity. But yeah, I know a lot of people do that, and I don't know. I want to finish it before I start something else. It's just how I am. Totally fine. So that was a kind of a why choose one. I know I've talked about it in previous episodes, but yeah, it's really good.
Okay, and then my number one is The Right Thing to Do.
Okay.
This is a Dramini fan fiction.
There's nothing wrong with fan fiction.
But it started out the year really well, and I was like, okay, I had to, not read anything else and just continue this book. So this is obviously my number one.
No, yeah. It's when you can't put down the book, you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
That's when it's a good book. I haven't had a book do that for me in a while, though, but I'm getting there. I have 4 different things. Yeah. I mean, there's so many different books, but I feel like there are, there's not as many books that I'm like, I need to finish this. I need to read. You know what I mean? That feeling that you need to, figure out what happens. I feel like we need more books like that. Or I need to get...
Well, it's hard to, any given thing. You gotta have just the right book to do that.
Yes, yeah. Especially, a lot of that really depends on, what's going on in your life, too. So you're like, I need the right emotional book.
Yes.
I totally get it. So my favorite of the year is Ravage. It's a trilogy. Go figure. It's also a one choose. Fantasy. It's magic, kind of like soulmates kind of thing, like every other I choose. It's more of you're bound to the one person kind of thing. I know some why choose ones aren't that way.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Mads and K series they're not bound to each other. They just love each other. So that's what I like.
Okay.
All right. So now that we talked your ear off, you're welcome. Tell us in the comments, like, what was your, like, top book of the read of the year, or top 5. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
We always love discussing, obviously, new books.
Yes.
So now we're going to get into our book for the podcast. Now that we talked your ear off. No, I'm just kidding. So for this episode, we did Manhunt by Gretchen Felker-Martin.
Yeah.
Sorry, I butchered the name. I'm known for that. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and get into it. Oh lordy. I don't even know how to start this book. Okay, so I'm just gonna put it out there. It is a zombie book.
Yes.
Plain and simple. It is a very classic. If you take out everything else, it is a zombie book.
Yeah.
The plot line is zombies and, you know, the struggle between factions, basically people that survivors, and that it goes on a lot of the struggle on different sides, which is zombies. I mean, people are struggling over power. That's what you do in a straight civilization. I want to say this is like 5 years into like the pandemic or the plague or into the world.
Yeah.
Right? I think it was close to 5 years.
Think so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so it's like established that like the first chapter really shows you what you're getting into. So if you don't like the first chapter, then I would not continue the book. It really goes on to what they're doing, the two main characters. Well, I think there's technically 5 main characters.
There are so many POVs.
Yeah, there's a lot of, yeah. In the beginning, it's just the 2, and then it starts to expand out as you get more factions involved. I feel like factions is a really good word for that, right?
Yeah, there's 2 different parties.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. And the 2 main characters is Frankie and Beth, and they're both trans. So you get kind of more their point of view on being trans through the end of the world situation.
Yes.
Zombies.
And these zombies are typical, like,
No.
bite and you turn into a zombie. These zombies are all male, and it's something to do with the testosterone in men that cause them to go feral.
Yes. So, like the level of testosterone, so it's not just men. It's obviously anyone that struggles with an unregulated high level of testosterone. So they turn into zombies. And they are probably the grossest zombies I've ever, read. So, they have open lesions. They have, obviously fallen apart because, zombies. And so they just sound gross.
Well, they really are gross because not only are they zombies, but they're also zombies that will fuck you until you die.
Yes. Yes. Which, in the first chapter, it goes into, this is kind of a huge spoiler, so obviously that's why we're here. It talks about kind of the main reason for the title of the book, which is Manhunt. They're technically the 2 main point of views. I'm going to say main because they mostly throughout the entire series. Frankie and Beth are both trans, I think, men wanting,
They're men to women.
Yes, men to women. Thank you. And so they are out in the woods, and they shoot a guy, which was a zombie, and I don't know, how do you want to word this?
I'm just gonna say it.
Okay, we're just gonna come out with it.
So they shoot one of the zombies, they string him up, they cut his balls off, and then they eat his balls for
the estrogen in it. Yes. And they also take the kidney lobes. I'm actually not sure what that is. Some part of the kidney, apparently, that holds estrogen. I science facts this, okay? It is actually legit. Your men body, of course, women's bodies do that. Obviously, make both testosterone and estrogen, but obviously they're not going to go kill women for they're actually, part of the civilization. So I kind of like that about it. They didn't, like, oh, let's kill women for, well, I don't,
Yeah.
like, I liked that. I was like, okay, that's too complicated. But yeah, so they're on the woods, and then that's when you meet, like, the first kind of other faction, which is, I think, is it called the Legion or the Turf?
So
because I kind of got both.
Fran and Beth call it the
Turfs, which is technically trans and exclusive radical feminists. That's their nickname, but I think they're technically the Legion. So
yeah,
like, I think, I don't know. I mean,
this was a very
it was
hard book for me, and not because of the topic. It was because of the multiple POVs.
Yeah. It was really hard to distinguish who was talking when you only have the two characters in the beginning, and then they throw other people, and I'm like, who is this?
Well, in the beginning, the two characters were fine because you can go back and forth, and they're together.
Yes.
And then they also had, like, flashbacks in that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of talks about their lives before. They called it T-Day. And they nickname it T-Rex. Which I think is hilarious. So they kind of do a little bit of, like, their point of view when society was functional, non-zombified, and then they go back to present, and there is no transition period. It's just
no. And it doesn't give you, like, it gives you a clean break if you're reading it, but if you're doing an audiobook, it does. It just, like, instantly you're in a different person's head, and you don't know who that is, and it could be in the past.
Yeah.
It
was very challenging, especially if you're doing the audiobook, and that's mainly how I did it, because, well, not because, it's just easier sometimes to do the audiobooks. But yes, in the book, you have a kind of like it's just like an empty line, and then it goes.
Yes.
And of course the chapters are named, but I like it when they tell you, like, the chapter, the name, and then who is actually
your POV character.
Yes. It just makes it easier, clean transitional read, especially when you're like, who is this person?
Yeah. I wish it would have been, like, by chapter. Like, you can have shorter chapters.
Yeah. I feel like it was a longer chapter with multiple point of views inside that chapter, yeah.
And then, also, like, it seemed like some of the POVs, like, cliffhangered in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, I was here, and now I'm completely somewhere different.
Yeah. And also the audiobook didn't tell you when it was in their head versus speaking.
Yeah.
It did in the book, because it had a different font. So
I think it was italicized.
Yeah, I couldn't say it, so I was like, it's a different font. So that was a little hard until I was like, I had to, like, read the book and listen to the audiobook at the same time at some points, because I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Kind of okay.
We're kind of getting ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, sorry. So first chapter is obviously them stringing up the guy, the zombie. And then you meet the second faction, which is, like, the Legion versus Turf, whatever. They're the same people. And I don't know how they knew this, but they were in the woods, and they were going back to their bikes, and
I think because the Legion or Turfs have the, like, XX.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, I don't know how they knew they were.
Well, I know they have tattoos.
They have the tattoos of XX.
But I don't know how they knew that Fran and Beth were trans.
I mean, one of them is, like, 6 foot, so I think
one of them's considered a brick, which is Beth.
Oh, is it Beth? Okay.
And that term is basically when somebody who is transitioning doesn't look like the gender that they want to transition into.
Okay. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a word, or...
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So obviously there's a lot of heavier topics in this book. And I know a lot of people are very against them and like just reading about anything to do with the LGBTQ. And I didn't have any kind of problem with that really. I actually found it kind of enjoyable to find someone else's perspective. Because obviously I can't, not that I can't relate, I just don't understand the struggles.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, it's true. So it was kind of interesting to see, especially with the flashbacks, it's kind of interesting to see that point of view. Just because I don't see that struggle.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, like, some of the, I don't know. I know that I'm trying not to piss anyone off. That's the hard part. But it, yeah.
So the main point of view, there's 3 or 4 trans people in this book. I don't know if
3.
Feather was actually.
Yeah, I don't know. It didn't. I don't think it said.
But anyways,
they use very derogative names, and they call the women cis women, which I know is a thing to call women cisgendered if they were born
women.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, it's so confusing. I apologize. Yeah, so I guess with that out of the way, there is a lot. Kind of surprised me being a horror book. There was a lot of sex in this book.
Yeah,
and it wasn't just the raping of the zombie men. There was some of that. So if you're triggered by that, I don't think I'd read this either.
As far as the sex in the book, it was kind of jarring because with the POV switches the way they are,
yes,
and then all of a sudden you go from something like them fighting off zombies or something weird, and then you go directly into another POV and they're boning down. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yes.
Hold on.
Yes, there was quite a lot of that. It actually surprised me because I didn't really think that there'd be a lot in a horror book. Just, I don't know. I guess it was like zombies, horror. Surely not, you know? And then it's like every other chapter I'm like, oh, okay. Like, I just wasn't expecting it. Not that it was bad. It was just, I wasn't, like, expecting a ton of sex scenes with this zombie.
I wish there would have been less, just because of the way it was told.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if sex is in a book, because obviously we read smut. But with the POV switches the way they were, I wish there was less.
Yes, it was very, very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like anybody really had especially at the beginning, they didn't really have any connection with each other. They were just
there
fucking to fuck.
Yeah. No. I mean, you didn't understand the emotional connection until chapters later. And yeah, because like it could be them. Because I think you're talking about Feather and the other one, right?
Well,
like because it was that, and then it went to someone else, and then like it went back, and I'm like, what?
Well, they went from like Beth getting attacked that one time, and then they meet Robbie, and then Fran and Robbie hook up right away.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay. But it like transitioned back from Beth being like in pain and like having dreams and like going through the, like she got raped by a zombie.
Yeah.
So it was just like, okay.
No, I
don't know.
I totally understand
why that was needed in there.
Yep. I gotcha. So kind of just like any other zombie book, there's turf wars.
Quite literally.
I know, as soon as I said that, I was like, clever play on my part. I was pretty proud of that. Anyways, so, I mean, it's, on the surface level, it's very zombie. You have one faction fighting over control for the other factions and trying to be a dictator, and, you know, I think that's mainly
what it is.
What it is, yeah. I mean, you have the different factions. You have, like, the bunker brats, and then you have the Legion, and then you have people just trying to survive, and then the trans community trying to basically survive in a world where they obviously can't get any more meds, and their only source is balls.
Yeah, or in Robbie's case where he transitioned.
Yes. Before civilization fell.
And he is woman to male. He's female to male transition. So now he's basically like one of the only men in this whole civilization.
Yeah.
And he has to like deal with that.
Yeah.
And people trying to kill him because he is a man.
Yeah. So he's more of like a loner type.
Yeah.
Until he finds, I think he just wanted that connection. Because, I mean, being alone for that long really can fuck with your psyche. 100%. So, yeah, I mean, it's basically the two main characters, Frankie and Beth, are trying to survive, really. But they come across her name's Teach. But she's kind of like the leader of the Legion. And they try to kill each other in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And they get injured. Like, Beth gets, like, her whole, like...
She gets, like, shot. She kind of gets grazed.
Yeah, and it goes, like, it's like a Nike sign on her cheek. And I think Frankie falls and then has to do, like, surgery on her tooth because it's cracked and some shit. And I'm like, God, the stuff that you wouldn't think about, like, logistically in a zombie book or a zombie, like, surrounding, like, setting. I'm like, God, what would they do if I had, like, a fucking fucked up tooth? Exactly what they did.
Yeah.
They just blew tires. I'm like, oh, I don't like that. Like, no, thank you. So basically it's them trying to get back to their friend, and her name's Indy.
Yes.
I'm not going to try to pronounce her actual name because I'm going to mess that up too. Indy is a doctor and a cis woman, and I think the whole main plot is she's trying to find a cure. Not really a cure for the zombieism because obviously, but there's obviously no like children being born, and the boys that were don't have enough testosterone yet, so I think they castrate them before they go into puberty. That's how they get around that. But obviously, if you do that, then where do you get babies? Yeah. So I think Indy was trying to come up with a cure so people didn't have to eat balls, really. Yeah. Try to synthesize some kind of estrogen for the trans community, because she's kind of like a mother hen to Frankie and Beth.
Yeah.
So they get to her house. Well, before that, Beth and Frankie actually go into a house, and zombies come. And that's where they go on, like, get onto the roof, and Robbie's just like, I think I should help them.
Yeah. And then he climbs up a tree and then starts shooting zombies from the tree.
Why they're just casually raping Beth.
Yeah.
Because that's their main thing.
That was a rough scene.
Yeah, it was really, like, I felt like I didn't understand what was happening. And I was like, what? Why is her butthole hurt? And then I was like, oh. I was like, oh. Yeah, so a lot of that was confusing just because of the different point of views, but... So then they escape. Beth is kind of fucked up. And Beth is kind of upset about Frankie and Robbie's relationship. Because they literally... The only thing I didn't really like about Frankie is she was with Robbie, she was with so-and-so, she was with Ramona. I'm like, pick a lane. Pick someone.
Yeah.
Like, I get it's into the world and you want to sow your whatever. But, like... At the end of the world, you want to find that connection. It's not fuck people over. Because then that's how you get fucked over. Yeah. Or at least that's my thought process, but whatever.
Yeah, that's that was one of my main issues with the sex scenes is Fran's constantly rotating partners.
Yeah. And it was really hard to keep track of them, really. Because I didn't realize Robbie was, like, trans until, like, the end. I don't know where I missed that, but, you know, talking about his, like, backstory and how he came into the zombie apocalypse kind of thing, I'm like, like, I feel like I missed a vital part of it.
Its perspective, its POV changes constantly.
Which is, I mean, yeah, it was rough. So they get to, I think it's Seabrook.
Yes.
Boston area? They said New Zealand, but I think that, or New England.
New England
that
is
was more
around the Boston area.
Oh,
so
okay.
it's
I was confused. I'm like,
the coastal area.
yeah, I was like, England? Question mark. And then I'm like, Boston? Did they rename it? Like, it's just like, okay. Felt a little stupid.
13 colonies.
Yeah. Oh, I did feel a little stupid. Anyways, so they get to Indy's house,
and then Indy is gonna take a job with the Bunker Brats.
Yes.
And she is outside of Seabrook's, and then there's a bunch of other women with her, and she wants to have a baby.
Yes. So they leave Indy's house and leave that all behind because the TERFs, the Legion, are basically taking over that city. I wouldn't say, like, by force, but kind of?
Kind of, yeah.
Like, it's one of those weird, like, hey, we outnumber you and we really care about this cause, we're gonna take over now, and everyone else is just like, okay, stability. You know, at least that's what I think, you know. It's really hard to tell from the point of view that we didn't get.
Yeah.
So they go to the bunker. I think her name's Sophie. Sophie was the bunker brat. And, yeah, she is keeping a man. And she does, obviously, Indy doesn't know that going in. I feel like that's kind of important to, like, distinguish, that she was just thinking she was going there they were going to help her cause, which was to find, you know, to synthesize estrogen of some capacity. And so Indy's like, well, it's a win-win. We get to have that security from someone else, and they don't have to fuck with the TERFs.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, okay. So once they get to the bunker, Sophie's like, come on, Indy, you know, we're going here. They go further down into it, and then that's when you find out that Sophie is hiding, I wouldn't say.
She has a male zombie trapped. Like Dawn of the Dead. I think is the one. It's either Dawn or Day.
Where they're in the...
Dawn is in the mall.
Yeah.
So it's Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead. Yeah. So, and she wants Indy's help to create a baby. And she kept that man, his name's Mackenzie, by the way, because they were sweethearts before the whole zombie apocalypse. So she's like, you can help us make a baby. and so this is like Indy struggling with, like, do I help? Or do I not? Is this like, obviously, is it ethical? Like, come on, it's zombie apocalypse, but like, I don't see how this is working out for her, but no. I mean, okay. So, I mean, I think Indy does try to help.
At first, yes. Because then stuff happens with Beth where she meets somebody on farm duty, and then they get together, and then the cis woman that Beth hooked up with gets cold feet, and then she kind of, like...
ostracizes Beth some more, basically.
Yeah. And then Beth gets kicked off of farm duty, and...
the TERFs have this really, like, concept that if you have sex with any traitor, any kind of, like, trans or... I don't know if they called it anything specific, but you're a traitor in the eyes of everyone if you have sex with some version that I don't know, it's so weird. It was, like, such a weird, like, if you have sex with anyone that's trans, that you're kind of a traitor to their cause as women, right?
Yeah.
Because like, one of the people in the Legion, which is another POV later, is Ramona, and it kind of starts out with her having sex with a trans, and she was just like very shameful about it, and I didn't understand why until we got to
later down the road.
I'm like, why is she like so negative about this person? Like, I didn't get it, and then obviously I got it later on because they're very like, no, and their whole thing is you're a traitor to women because they're the enemy. They're like walking time bombs that they can turn into a zombie anytime, and that's really what the Legion is about. Is they want to kill everyone that is a threat.
Yes.
And
sounds similar to what's happening now.
Yeah. Yes. This was a very... It's very hard to talk about, especially with the politics going on now. So if we upset anyone, we don't mean to. We're just trying to talk about the book.
Honestly, I'm not worried about upsetting anybody that is a Trump supporter. To be honest with you. Because the shit that's going down today is awful. And if you don't have compassion for people in general, you're kind of a shit person.
I agree, yes. I don't care what you do in the bedroom, who you are. I don't give a shit. It doesn't affect me at all.
Yeah.
I'm good. So, let's see here. I think we're at the bunker. So, I think the TERFs are trying to control the bunker, right?
Yes, because they're trying to make a trade deal with the bunker, I think.
Yes.
Because the bunker has, like, sustainable food,
mm-hmm.
like, they have...
Obviously,
everything.
It was more of, like, a rich kid's family kind of made this, and obviously Sophie invited their people to come live, and it's a nice community kind of thing. So yeah, I think the trade deal goes wrong.
Yeah, because they were going to trade off trans people to the TERFs, Legion, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
So that they could go and, I think, like, build something. I'm not sure what the trade was, but I know Beth was a part of this trade, and Robbie was like, no, this isn't going to happen.
Yeah. Robbie was the only, like, one that was like, yo, they're not cool. Some shit's happening. And no one listens to Robbie. Why?
Well, Indy didn't know.
No, Indy didn't, because she's so stuck in the lab, and then Robbie tried to tell Frankie, and Frankie was like, I ain't doing this. No. And then leaves and goes hook up with, I think she hooks up with Ramona at that point, right? They're closer to the end. Yeah. Like I said, super kind of hard to, like, follow plot-wise. Sorry. Or, like, the Legion, the TERFs, or the Sisterhood. There's too many names. Too many names of the factions, okay? And Ramona is important POV because she's really close to Teach. She's, like, moving up in the chain, trying to get her, like, trust. And then, but she feels guilty because she's sleeping with the traitor kind of mentality. And she's like, oh my god, am I going to get found out? Am I going to get found out? Like,
yeah.
It's just a little rough, okay? This is kind of...
So...
I lose the ending of this book.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sorry.
So Beth had been being used as a daddy in the bunker to try to get women pregnant, which was like one POV for like 2 seconds. And if you missed it, you missed it.
Yeah. I do remember the daddy situation. I was just like, oh, another sex thing.
And Indy didn't really know that situation. She didn't know what all Sophie was doing.
Mm-hmm.
When Robbie found out that Beth was going to get shipped away.
Yeah.
Fran was also
off
off
somewhere
doing something with the council, and she didn't really trust Robbie was telling the truth to her.
Like what?
Which I don't understand why you wouldn't trust Robbie and you would trust the turfs over what Robbie was saying.
Yeah. I didn't, I mean, I know they're strangers, but they were, like, having sex the entire time going up into the bunker, and then when they got to the bunker, they were just like, I'm gonna go over here. Like, I'm like, where's Frankie at? I was like, because I felt like she was more the main story in the beginning of the book, and then we got more of Beth in the end. Beth, Robbie-ish, and then I think Indy had a little bit point of view.
Yeah.
And then Ramona. Is that it? I feel like there were 5 different kind of point of views. Oh, the Feather and whoever. It wasn't Feather. It was the other one, wasn't it? I can't remember who it was though.
See, I'm not sure because I lost the plot halfway through this book, and I'm like, okay, they're fighting, they're taking over the bunker, and then they're going to fight the turfs, and they're going to kill the turfs.
Yeah.
And I think Feather died in this situation. I know Fran died.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it.
Yeah, it was kind of. Yes. Towards the end of the book, obviously there's a fight between the bunker people, bunker citizens. There we go. With the turfs, because obviously the trade deal went wrong, and then they're harboring, trans. So they're like, no, we're just going in and killing everyone. And then it did not end well for the Legion.
No.
I think they left with their tail between their legs, kind of thing. Or did
and then the bunker pretty much got dismantled.
Yeah. The leader, Teach, she died. Ramona got fucked up. She's still living though. I don't know about Sophie. Did she?
Yeah, she died.
She died. Okay.
They set Mackenzie on her.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Totally.
Like Day of the Dead.
Very poetic, And even when they described Mackenzie, it was just really gross. Especially when they talked about his penis and how stuff was growing out of it. Or not growing out of it, but
image of these zombies are like the tar monster from Return of the Living Dead mixed with Quentin Tarantino from Planet Terror.
I love it. I didn't think about that. Oh my god. I was thinking more of, it's not as bad as a clicker from the Left 4 Dead series, but it's kind of close. Just imagine gross-esque things growing out.
Goo. A lot of goo.
Yes, yeah. I don't know. It was very descriptive. I really liked that part of it, but anyways. So I guess going back to the end of the book. Frankie died. I was kind of really upset about that because Frankie and Beth were kind of, in the beginning, you could say that they were a really close relationship. They were, they've been friends before the zombie apocalypse, so you got that closeness. And then towards the middle of the book, they kind of dissolve that. It doesn't dissolve, but it more breaks down because Beth is feels left out because Robbie and Frankie, and so there's kind of some tension in there. So at the end of the book, when Frankie is dying, her and Beth make up, which I thought was a really nice ending. You felt I don't know, felt growth. She was I was a shitty friend. I'm sorry.
She was a really shitty friend.
Yeah, she was owning up to this stuff, and I liked that part of it. I mean, obviously I didn't like that she died, but I understand for the book premise that, there had to be some casualties. It's a zombie book, come on. And so then Robbie kind of goes his own way after he says goodbye to Beth. But he and Beth become really close friends.
Yeah.
And Robbie's I'm leaving. I'll be back. Not really. Beth is yeah, I won't ever see him again. But they left on good terms. He felt like he had to leave.
Yeah. Just
with everything going on. And then Indy and Beth became lovers. Which I think Beth really liked Indy anyways. They were fuck buddies anyways. Like, because when they get to Indy's house the first time, Indy's like, fuck me. And she's like, no, you're broken at the moment. No, like, give your butthole a rest. You know? Which, you know, it is what it is. But I thought that was really nice, like, that they became together, and then it's kind of how the book ends.
Yeah.
Is Indy and Beth are together, Robbie leaves. That's the end of the book.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a second book.
No, I think this is standalone.
Standalone, okay. Yeah, yeah, that's
that.
I don't think, like, it didn't tell them, like, it didn't tell us, like, where they were going or if they were going, you know. I just know Robbie left. And I think Indy and the rest of the people were trying to rebuild the bunker or something. They were staying there. I just don't know what their plans were.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it said. So, that's the book in a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
In a nutshell. We kind of hit on some points of why we didn't really like the book. Mostly because of the multiple POVs, and you really didn't It was just really hard. It was really confusing to kind of follow.
Yes.
Would be the best term, I guess, I got. It was very descriptive. I mean, the zombies you can picture were, like, fucking gross. Like, ugh, no, thank you. Like, you know, like, it kind of... I see the appeal. Like, it is a baseline zombie book, but some of just the multiple different POVs just really, like, killed me because I didn't understand. Like, I guess I had a hard time understanding the plot and what was going on because I couldn't tell who was talking until, you know, a couple paragraphs into it, and then you're like, okay. So I had to, like, go back and reread some of that. Like, that was my main problem with this.
Yes. So that was my problem as well, is the POVs.
Yeah.
I can see the importance of this book, and I like the fact that we do get diversity in characters.
Yes.
But the POVs killed me.
Yeah. Because
it wasn't chapter breaks like normal POVs.
Yes.
I guess normal is relative.
Yeah.
But
it's just really hard to follow the story.
You lost the plot line, I feel like,
yeah,
with each character.
Yeah.
Like, I think it would have been better if we had, like, chapters per each person.
Yes.
So, where this went person, and then you change times as well.
Yeah, time skips. Yeah.
It was
really
rough.
Hard. Like I said, for a zombie book, it's really descriptive. The plot lost me in the middle.
Yes. It lost me about when I texted you about DNFing it because the POVs were getting to me that bad.
Yeah. I was like, I'm 80%, I'm gonna finish, fuck it. Like, I'm already 80%, I'll only do 20% left. And I told you it was fine if you wanted to. I totally understand why.
Yeah.
I definitely understand, and I think if it had a better structure with POVs, I would give it a better rating, which I know we haven't gotten into yet, but that's my thought.
Yeah.
Like you said, either just, like, in that, or at least tell you whose POV it is. Like, that would have, like, helped tremendously.
Yes.
Like, hey, this is gonna be so-and-so. I don't know if it was a conscious choice or an unconscious choice from the author itself, but it was just really hard.
It almost felt like the writing style was almost like stream of consciousness.
Okay.
Where they were like, okay, well, I'm going to stay with this character, and they're like, oh shit, I need to do this character right in the middle of it.
I could totally see that. 100%.
But this is important because it happened to her in the past, or it happened to them in the past.
Yeah.
So we need to touch on that, and then...
So you understand a little bit more what the trauma is. Which is fine. I mean, I love a good trauma read, you know? But it was just really hard to follow. I mean, that's all I got.
Especially an audiobook. I think if you were physically reading it, it might have been better.
No.
But in audiobook, it was rough.
I mean, like, you can kind of see...
because you know where
Yeah, like
they're breaking off
Yes.
that. Yeah.
and even in the on the Kindle version, like you saw the break, but yeah. My thing was I didn't understand the thoughts until I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, and then I realized, oh, so that's why I had to keep referring back to the book. So I really enjoy reading the book. I listened to the audiobook with this one just because I felt like I understood it a little more, but then I still couldn't tell you the, like, in between plot.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I was like, oh, yeah, I got this, and then I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Like that's what it lacked.
I almost wish that, like, there was a breakdown of which character was talking at which point.
Yeah.
So you could read all of one character and then go back and read all of the other
Oh,
characters.
that would be interesting.
Because then you could get
Yeah.
actually what is happening.
Yeah.
But with the way that it jumps back and forth, it was hard to keep the plot.
Yeah, it really was. Because you're like, okay, have one plot, and then you have another one that you don't think is connected until you get further into the book, and then you see it's connected. And I'm like, oh, but I really like that idea where you have, like, all the point of views, and, you know, chapter 1 is all point of views. Skip to whatever if you want, you know.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like pick your own adventure book, but with point of views. Like, that would have probably really helped that.
Yes.
So, do you want to get into the rating part?
Sure.
Okay.
It's not going to be good.
Yes. Okay. So overall rating for me, a 1.
Same.
I mean, I love zombies. Obviously, like zombie. It's just the plot was super hard to follow, especially reading or audio, you know. And I felt like I lost the plot in the middle. Like, the first maybe 10% wasn't too bad, because it was just the two characters. So you can kind of like, okay, not sure which one's talking at the moment, but one of the two, you know?
I mean, they're in the same space.
So, like, it was a little easier to kind of like, oh, jump in, okay, fine, it's time skip, okay. And then once you start adding all the other characters, because I think there were 5 different point of views, but I can't remember.
Well, I know Ramona was one of them, and I know Robbie was one of them.
Yeah, and I think Indy. So yeah, that would be Frankie, Beth, Indy, Rob, and Ramona. So yeah, it was 5 different point of views, and you didn't know which one was speaking at the time.
Or
Like,
where you were in the, like...
Yeah.
So you could have a POV that was Ramona, and then she's with the turfs, and she's talking, or she's with Feather, or whatever. And you're like, okay, I'm here, this is where I am. And then all of a sudden, you're in the bunker with Indy in her lab, and you're like, what just happened?
Yeah. Yeah, it was just, like, when it first changed to someone I didn't know from the first book, like, from the 2 main characters, obviously, Frankie and Beth, they talk to each other, you get their names. And then it goes to Robbie, and he's sitting in a damn tree. And I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
Like, what? And that's where I'm like, okay, I'm frustrated. Like, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, overall, mine is 1, and it's because of the
Point of views.
point of view switches.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I really enjoyed reading a point of view, or reading perspective of the trans, just because I don't struggle with that. So that was interesting to see the struggles from the time skips and the zombie apocalypse, especially based on what the disease is. Like, it only affects men, and to survive they have to do these things. So that was kind of interesting to see, like, it basically, like, what would you do to survive kind of thing.
Yes.
Like, would you eat balls to survive? I don't know. I probably would. To say, like, I don't know. I can't say in that situation what I would do. But probably, like, maybe.
Yeah, I liked
Like,
the perspectives of this book, but the storytelling in and of itself was
Yes.
what killed me.
I thought the book was a really, really unique plot line. Like, it was very, very unique on a zombie apocalypse. I really enjoyed that. The POV. Like, it really lacked because I couldn't follow the story, and that made me not interested in the book at that point.
It made me not interested in the characters either. Like,
yeah.
like, I don't know who's talking, so I can't get that connection.
Yeah, and then, you know, some of the characters, like Frankie was... I ended up hating until she died. Like, really? Because it's like, she was a shit friend and a shit person, and then, like, she redeemed herself, but at that point, I mean, it's too late. Like, you're dead. You're dying, you know? So that was my really main struggles with this. So I totally understand why you're like... Totally get it. I understand.
I also think this could benefit from being like a TV show, like a visual movie, TV show, whatever. That's visual, so you can see each person and you're like, okay, I'm following this person.
It's a better transition. Like, obviously you're not with Frankie or Ramona or, you know, Frankie and Beth. Sorry, I said Ramona off. Yeah, I think that probably would have been... I don't know. I just think it needs a little bit more refining.
Yeah.
100%. So what did you give it as a scary score? Since it's our horror pick.
Well...
I know that one was a little harder for me.
Probably, like, a 2, since it's zombies. Mm-hmm. Zombies are pretty scary. The situation where I would not be in that situation because I am not a trans person is scary. I can see where that is an issue. Yeah. And a lot of that stuff is happening not only with trans people, but with people that are immigrating to our country now. Yeah. No, I totally understand. But I think it's a 2.
Yeah, that's what I gave it to. we matched on this one. I gave it a 2 mostly because obviously zombies and the ball eating for me. Like, I'm like, I don't know. Would I do that to survive? I don't know. Like, that was my main, like, like, I don't know if I'd do that. But yeah, I gave it a 2 just because zombies, and the author did a really good job of describing how awful they are. Yeah. And I think that's why I gave it a 2. Yeah. So. Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about?
I don't think so, but we do have our next book, and if you want, we can do our books for July.
Yes.
So next week's book is our fantasy pick, and it's going to be God Killer by Hannah Kaner.
Kaner, yeah. I think it's how you say it.
Obviously our fantasy pick, I've already started. I think you've already started as well.
We're both on the roll today. Do you want to go over what our theme was for July, or?
Yeah. So going forward, well, in these past 2 months, we did
kind of like a theme on top of the theme.
Yes. So in May we did books that were also movies. So we did the movies, and then June is obviously Pride Month. Yep. So we did LGBTQ plus.
Yeah, sorry.
As our theme.
Yes.
Where all of the books had that element.
Yeah. Aspect of it, yeah. So next month we decided to do games and trials?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I think this is our romance pick.
Yes.
Okay. Beyond the Net by Stephanie Archer.
And its game is hockey, obviously.
Obviously, come on now.
And then we have Hide by Kirsten White.
Kirsten, yeah. That's our horror pick. Fantasy picks is Games God Play by Abigail Owens. Look at the pretty. Sorry.
And then our last one is Red Rising by Pierce Brown.
It's a sci-fi pick, and that's a 7-book
series. Yes,
series. We're only gonna read the first one.
Like always, we only read the first one unless we get ambitious like Madison Kate.
Yes, which we probably, I don't know, that was a little rough. Yes. A little rough. Just because we tried to finish 4 rereads. In a week. It was a little much. Anyways, so that's our July's picks.
If you want to suggest a theme for us, we are always up for suggestions as well as recommendations for any of our genres.
Mm-hmm.
You can either leave a comment or interact with us on Facebook.
Facebook has everything linked in to the podcast and the video. I think that's where we mostly post. I know we post on Instagram as well, which that is linked into the Facebook page too, I think.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. We usually use yours.
Yep.
Because you have one set up for just books.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is Ray's Pretty Pages is my bookstagram.
Yes! Bookstagram. I love it. So I hope you liked our discussion on Manhunt. And yeah.
I'm disappointed in the POVs because this was supposed to be good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really unique. I loved that because I feel like it's really hard to find a really unique plot. And just like, I compare it to manga just because I read it the most. But like, if the art, I can't stand looking at it, I'm not going to want to read it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I was like, oh man, like, it's like you really like the plot, but it's like the execution isn't there, that was really kind of disappointing to me.
Yeah.
Anyway. Sorry, I had high hopes for this just because I love zombies, and I called it. As soon as I saw the cover, I was like, if they don't eat balls, I'm upset. And I was like, oh, I was joking. I was just joking. But no. Yeah. Sometimes the book cover does tell you a little bit about the book. I know, shocking concept, right? Anyways, hope you liked the video, and see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.